So I have with me in studio right now Reinhard Atela. He is a transformational speaker, and we're going to be talking about the online borrowing craze amongst Kenyan youth. Reinhard, welcome to Full Circle.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me about borrowing. I think I saw an article in the newspaper a couple of days ago, and basically it was more or less raising the alarm because this particular, especially, people who had loans are facing a very specific challenge because either they cannot keep up with the loan repayment.
True.
We are seeing that the interest rates
Are
are not what they were previously. So why do you feel like today, now more than ever, it's important for us to actually reframe the conversation around borrowing?
Okay, going back from the beginning, I think we have to get to the place of understanding why borrow. That's the first thing I would like to address, and then looking at it from the point of you are borrowing for what reason, and then we have these lenders who are interested in what they're making, not what you're making. So
it's a business.
It's a business at the end of the day. And first things first, let's track down what are the interest rates. Number two, the collaterals are not there. So anytime that you're given a loan without a collateral, you are the collateral. And so people don't sit down and ask themselves, what is the collateral against this? It is your data. It's the information that you're giving them. And most people click on, I have understood the terms and conditions, without knowing that some of the terms are actually tying you down to them. So it's time we have to talk about this as soon as we can.
So now you've actually just mentioned about institutional borrowing.
Yes.
So borrowing from a bank or a financial institution.
Yes.
So what about the borrowing? And I feel like this is the borrowing that we need to start from. Your friend comes up to you, hi, I'm going through a very tough time. Give me 10K. And then I think especially this year in particular, so many friendships have gone down the drain.
Very true.
Because either you loaned your friend some money and then when it comes to repayment,
they don't want
that's
to
it. Now this person who was very desperate, very sweet, you see a whole other side of them. So how can we curb that? Because borrowing is not just at that macro level, but there's also the day-to-day borrowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think borrowing is not bad, especially if you're borrowing for a reason that you are able to pay it back. Pandemic, coronavirus pandemic has introduced us to a lot of fiascos. One of them is losing friends, as you've said. But then I think the initial kind of borrowing, which was about you borrow me your money, and then next time it is me borrowing you back. So we were both creditors and debtors in this case. So in that conversation, it's easier to come and say, I am going to give you my money, hoping that next time it is you giving me your money. So I went again to look at it from the point of, why do you borrow? Because people borrow to buy things that they don't need to impress people who don't care.
So you're borrowing to go out with your friends,
yes,
you're borrowing
to go
on
and
a
drink.
vacation,
Yes.
You're borrowing to buy a car. So what is smart borrowing? Because you said borrowing is not bad.
Yes.
Because you could actually borrow money and that money could actually end up being constructive in your life.
True.
So at which point does borrowing now become smart?
Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, says this, that I use debt to become rich. So the rich gets richer while the poor gets poorer. Why? Because the rich take loans to invest on what will pay back the loan. So anytime that you're borrowing a loan to spend, you're not being smart here. You're actually being a fool, because the Bible says, I'm sorry to bring this on, the Bible says that teach a child on how he should live, but when they grow up, they will not forget. And then what do you teach a child? That, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is subject to the lender. So anytime you borrow money without having a strategy on how you're going to repay it back, you're becoming a slave to the person who has lent you the money. So to become a smart borrower, you have to borrow knowing that this money is going to generate these returns, and I'm able to pay back with the returns that I'm going to get, so that you're not tied down. But anytime you're borrowing to spend, you're simply saying, I am a slave. Use me as you can.
So what basically I'm hearing is that the worst mistake you can make
Yes.
is to borrow money to spend.
Exactly.
So those ones borrowing money to buy a TV, to buy new couches in your house,
To buy shoes,
to pay rent, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. We are laughing
Very
here, but these are
crazy.
some of the
True,
mistakes that young people especially are making. And I feel like, especially in today's environment, whereby you can literally borrow at your fingertips.
Anytime you want
You don't
it.
even need friends anymore. Yeah?
Yes.
There are all these many applications on
Yes.
your your phone.
almost 49, right?
Exactly. And we've seen people who unfortunately have gotten into trouble because now we have something that is called the credit bureau.
Yes.
Maybe just talk about that and why young people can understand why it's important to actually keep their credit score very clean.
First, we must understand that when you borrow money, you are actually spending your future now. And by that, what I mean is that you are actually locking yourself from opportunities. Let me give you an example from my own standpoint. You know, I took a loan long time ago in 2013, and it was a very little loan. I think it was around 2,000 or 3,000 shillings. Then I'd forgotten that I had this loan.
Oh, you forgot? You took a loan? Who are you?
I'd forgotten I had this loan. So little did I know that I'd been listed. So,
this is now with the CRB, the
CRB.
Credit Bureau. Yeah.
And time had moved almost 2-3 years later. And so I went to take a major major loan that would actually start me off so well. And I'm told I can't get the loan.
And you're wondering why?
Why?
I mean, I'm good on paper.
I'm good, yeah. So later on, I realized I'd been listed. And so many people are...
For 2,000 shillings?
2,000 shillings.
And how much were you looking to borrow then?
500,000 shillings.
So you were denied 500,000
because
Kenyan
of
shillings
2,000.
that you forgot?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is the position that most young people are in right now. You know, it's so easy to just go on your phone, get Okash, you take this loan to pay this one. At the end of the day, what you don't understand is that you're selling out your future. Because with a clean credit record, you're able to get loans to start your businesses. You're able to finance, different projects that are going to bring in investments. But then most people are going to borrow simply because they want to look good. Social media has also, promoted this a lot because everybody wants to look like they have made it in life.
Yes, they say fake it
until you make it. Then at the end of very dangerous. At the end of the day, you're locked in. You cannot move forward. And the future of your children are also locked in within the same circle of maybe borrowing 1,000 to pay branch that you took yesterday and Tala is now hitting you. By the time you realize you've gone down the trenches. And most people don't see that the more you go into debt, the deeper you sink into a drench. And the deeper you go in, the farther you cannot go back because you have to take more to pay what you already have.
Right.
Yes.
And I'll remind our viewers, wherever it is you're watching us from, if you have any questions on borrowing, if you had an experience with a loan, please feel free to share with us. Of course, the SMS line is right there on your screen. Now, we've spoken about how to borrow smartly.
Yes.
What is smart borrowing, and of course, what is really, for lack of a better word, dumb borrowing. So in case someone finds themselves in a situation where they've borrowed money and unfortunately they cannot keep up with their repayment, what would be your advice to them in terms of how to get themselves out of that hole?
It depends also with the institution where you took the loan. Of course, with the apps that we now have all over the place, you'll have to pay it. You'll have to look for the money to pay it. But then there are institutions like banks that if you have their loans, you actually can renegotiate terms. For example, we have a lot of people who have the testimonies that during pandemics, they would walk to their banks and tell them, I was paying this loan, but I can't continue paying it.
Because either they got laid off, the business has stalled.
So for these app loans, I would encourage you to go and pay it if you can. And number two, I want to look at it from the point that immediately you borrow your money, have a plan to start paying it. Because that little amount of money is able to ransom your whole destiny.
So basically from the onset, prepare yourself to keep up with the repayment. And if possible, even be ahead.
Exactly.
Because there are benefits to that. Maybe just tell people about what benefits they could get. If let's say I'm supposed to pay 20,000 a month and I'm smart, I'm able to pay even double that amount.
One, your credit standards are elevated because when you are able to pay up well, and of course I have to make this very clear that banks loves borrowers because that is how they make, that's
their business.
So when you pay well, you actually get into the good books of the banks. But then again, the other thing that helps you with, it takes away, it brings down your stress levels. I usually make people laugh using this analogy that if you have a rent arrears, just change the name of your landlord remove that landlord and just write their name. It at least takes down your stress levels. And that's the same thing I usually I can advise.
Nothing as stressful as owing people money that
I'm
you
telling you,
pay.
The moment you see their phone, let me give an example. I have an experience I think I saw online where somebody had borrowed money from Okash, and so Okash was calling everybody in their contacts. You know, that's so stressing. The moment you know my girlfriend is going to be called, oh my God. So
your guarantors are going to
my
be called.
guarantors are going to, you know, in this case, there's no guarantor, but they're going to ensure that they call everybody in your contact.
Right.
That alone increases your stress level.
They could call your boss.
I tell you. And
Okay.
so borrowing has psychologically, it induces dopamine. And so the moment you start borrowing, it becomes like an addiction. You want to keep doing it because you want to solve this through this loan. But once you've solved this, another problem comes in, you want to borrow this, and then it becomes an habit. So what I want to say is that for you to be able to lower down your stress levels, plan yourself on payment of the loans. And if you can, don't borrow.
Absolutely. And of course, Reynard, you're also an author. You have
Yes.
some of your books with us in studio right now.
Yes.
So here we have a book, Is God Broke? Discover the Hidden Wisdom for Wealth Accumulation by a very own Reinhard Atella.
Yes.
And also we have Wake Up, Walk Out, How to Fire Your Boss, Overcome Lack, Poverty and Frustrations. I feel like this is another interview altogether.
Yes.
But he's been generous enough to actually offer to give out these two books to a lucky viewer. So let me know why you deserve these books. And of course, 2020 has been a year with so many disruptions. And I really know that for a lot of people, your finances have been disrupted. Either you had a pay cut, either your business is not doing as well. So this is the time that you need to go back, fill up your tank around how to, just knowledge around financial management, because at the end of the day, you can never stop learning. So I have these two amazing books, and all you have to do is simply tell me why you deserve these books and how you feel they'll make a difference in your life. So go on right now via our SMS line, which is right on your screen. But right now, it's time for a very quick break. We'll be right back.